Long ago, in a time when the world was young and magic still danced freely through the forests of Japan, there lived an old bamboo cutter named TellStory no Okina, and each morning as the mist rose from the valleys and the first light painted the sky with gentle gold, he ventured into the bamboo grove with his sharp knife, seeking the finest stalks for his craft. On one particularly serene morning, as cherry blossoms drifted like snow through the air, TellStory no Okina noticed something extraordinary, for deep within the grove stood a single bamboo stalk that seemed to glow with an inner light, as if the moon itself had taken residence within its hollow chambers. The radiance was so pure, so ethereal, that the old man stopped in wonder.
What manner of miracle is this?
He whispered, his weathered hands trembling as he approached the luminous bamboo. With reverent care, he cut the glowing stalk, and as his blade completed its work, the bamboo split open with a sound like the tinkling of temple bells, and from within emerged the most beautiful child he had ever seen. She was no larger than his thumb, with skin like polished pearl and hair that flowed like liquid silk, her eyes holding the depth of starlit skies, and when she smiled it seemed as though the very sun had decided to shine more brightly.
My dear wife,
He called as he hurried home, cradling the tiny maiden in his gentle hands.
come quickly. Heaven has blessed us with a daughter.
His wife, who had long mourned their childless state, wept tears of joy when she saw the miraculous child, and they named her Naotake no Kagayaheim, which meant Princess Kagaya of the supple bamboo, for she had emerged from the heart of the bamboo grove. As days turned to weeks, little Kagaya grew with supernatural swiftness. Each dawn brought new height to her frame, new wisdom to her words, and new beauty to her already astonishing features. Within mere months, she had grown into a young woman of such extraordinary loveliness that her radiance seemed to illuminate the very walls of their humble cottage. But Kagaya's presence brought more than beauty to their home, for each time TellStory no Okina returned to cut bamboo, he found gold and precious jewels hidden within the stalks, and their poverty vanished like morning mist, replaced by wealth beyond their wildest dreams. Yet Kagaya herself remained humble and kind, spending her days helping her adoptive mother with household tasks and bringing joy to all who met her. Word of Kagaya's incredible beauty spread throughout the land like wildfire across dry grass, and soon 5 of the most powerful and wealthy noblemen in all of Japan came seeking her hand in marriage.
I offer you a fortune in gold and lands beyond measure.
Prince Ishitsukuri declared this as he approached their gate, his elaborate robes rustling like autumn leaves while his eyes sparkled with avarice.
I possess the finest horses, the most skilled servants, and palaces that touch the clouds.
Prince Kuramochi boasted that his wealth would secure her acceptance.
Choose me.
Minister Abe no Myosher, whose family name commanded respect in the imperial court, proclaimed his intentions.
And you shall want for nothing, silks from distant lands, pearls from the deepest seas, all shall be yours.
The minister's words rang with the promise of endless luxury.
Beauty fades.
Counselor Otomo no Miyuki remarked thoughtfully about the fleeting nature of beauty.
But knowledge endures forever. I offer you a life of learning and intellectual companionship.
I am strong enough to protect you from any danger.
Middle Captain Iso no Kami declared with fierce pride that he could shield her from danger.
No harm shall ever befall you under my watch.
Each day, these 5 nobles gathered outside the cottage, each trying to outdo the others with displays of wealth, power, and devotion. They filled the garden with gifts, bolts of precious silk that shimmered like captured rainbows, chests overflowing with gold coins that clinked like temple bells, rare flowers that bloomed in impossible colors, and exotic birds whose songs could make even the stones weep with beauty. But Kagaya observed all these offerings with a curious detachment, as if viewing earthly treasures from a great distance. Her adoptive parents, overwhelmed by the persistence of such illustrious suitors, finally approached her with gentle concern.
Dearest daughter,
TellStory no Okina replied with paternal concern.
These are honorable men of great standing. Any one of them would provide you with a life of comfort and security. Perhaps it is time to consider marriage.
Kagaya's response was delivered with the graceful wisdom that had always marked her words.
Honored father, I understand your concern for my future, but how can I choose among 5 men when I know nothing of their true character? Anyone may speak of love when beauty dazzles their eyes, but true devotion reveals itself only in times of trial. I shall give each suitor a quest. If their love is genuine, they will gladly undertake any task to prove their worth. If their interest is merely in possessing a beautiful object, they will reveal their true nature.
The next morning, Kagaya summoned the 5 suitors to her presence. She sat gracefully on a simple wooden stool. Yet her natural dignity made it seem like the finest throne, while the morning light streaming through the windows gathered around her in an almost divine aura.
Noble lords, your persistent courtship honors me deeply. However, true love proves itself through deeds, not words. I shall set before each of you a task. He who succeeds shall win my hand in marriage.
Prince Ishitsukuri leaned forward eagerly, his eyes bright with anticipation.
Name your challenge, princess. No task is too great for one who loves as truly as I.
Kagaya smiled gently.
From the Buddha's temple in distant India, bring me the stone begging bowl that was used by the Buddha himself. It is said to glow with holy light and to bring peace to all who gaze upon it.
Prince Koromochi bowed deeply.
And what quest would you set for me, radiant princess?
Journey to the Dragon King's palace beneath the eastern sea. There grows a tree with silver bark and golden leaves. From this tree bring me a single branch, for it is said that its beauty rivals that of the moon itself.
Minister Abe Nomyoshir stepped forward.
I await your command, my lady.
In the distant land of China, there lives a fire rat whose fur is so fine that flames cannot touch it. Bring me a robe woven from this magical fur, for such a garment would indeed be a wonder to behold.
Counselor Otomo no Miyuki nodded gravely.
Whatever you require, I shall obtain it.
On the neck of a great dragon, there hangs a jewel of 5 colors that contains all the beauty of the rainbow. This jewel I would have you bring to me.
Finally, she turned to Middle Captain Iso no Kami.
And for you, brave captain, I ask that you bring me a cowrie shell borne by a swallow. It is said that such shells possess the power to grant their owner's deepest wish.
The 5 suitors departed with great ceremony, each confident that his superior resources and determination would ensure success. But as the months passed, it became clear that Kagaya had chosen these tasks with profound wisdom. Prince Ishitsukuri, unwilling to undertake the perilous journey to India, commissioned local craftsmen to create a false begging bowl. When he presented it to Kagaya with great fanfare, the bowl appeared magnificent, crafted from the finest stone and polished to perfection. But as Kagaya held it in her delicate hands, she shook her head sadly.
This bowl, though beautiful, lacks the divine essence of the Buddha's touch. A true holy relic would carry within it the weight of spiritual enlightenment. I feel no such power here.
Exposed in his deception, Prince Ishitsukuri fled in shame, his false love revealed for all to see. Prince Koromochi was far more cunning in his deception. He told his parents he needed to travel for his health, ashamed to admit his true purpose, and he allowed his servants to accompany him only partway before sending them back. Reaching the seashore, he embarked on a small ship and sailed for 3 days to a remote location. There he employed 6 skilled jewelers and commissioned them to craft a magnificent branch of gold and silver, adorned with jewels, matching Kagaya's description of the tree from Mount Horai. When the branch was finished, Prince Koromochi made himself appear travel-worn and weary, as if he had indeed journeyed to distant lands. He placed the jeweled branch in a fine lacquer box and brought it to the bamboo cutter's home. The old man was completely deceived by the prince's haggard appearance and believed he had truly ventured to Mount Horai, so he tried to persuade Kagaya to see the noble suitor, praising both the treasure and the prince's brave efforts. Kagaya took the branch in her hands and examined it carefully, her expression thoughtful.
This is indeed a beautiful work, but I cannot believe it came from Mount Horai so quickly or easily.
Just as Prince Koromochi waited outside, confident of his success, the 6 jewelers who had crafted the branch arrived at the house to demand payment for their work, having labored over 1,000 days to create the golden trunk, silver roots, and jeweled fruit. They sent in a petition to the princess, explaining that despite their efforts, the prince had not yet paid them, and the deception was thus revealed. Kagaya, glad to have escaped this importunate suitor, ordered the workmen to be paid liberally from her own household, and they departed satisfied. But on their way home, the enraged prince overtook them and beat them severely for exposing his secret, and they barely escaped with their lives. Prince Koromochi returned to his home in disgrace and, despairing of ever winning the princess, withdrew from society to live a solitary life in the mountains. Minister Abe no Myosher actually began the journey to China, but when he learned of the fire rat's ferocity and the extreme difficulty of obtaining its fur, he purchased an ordinary fur robe and claimed it was fireproof. To test its authenticity, Kagaya's adoptive father placed it near a flame, and it immediately caught fire.
True fire rat fur would remain unharmed even in the heart of a great blaze. This robe speaks of ordinary materials and dishonest hearts.
She observed it sadly. The minister departed, his deception revealed and his reputation tarnished. Counselor Otomo no Miyuki was less deceitful than his predecessors. Rather than attempting the quest himself, he commanded all his servants to search far and wide across Japan and China for the dragon bearing the 5-colored jewel, strictly forbidding any of them to return empty-handed. His numerous retainers, however, considered the order impossible and simply took an extended holiday, traveling to pleasant locations while grumbling about their master's unreasonableness. After a year of fruitless waiting, the counselor's patience broke. He could endure no longer, so taking only 2 men with him, he hired a ship and commanded the captain to search for the dragon. The captain and sailors protested that the quest was absurd, but the counselor compelled them to set sail. They had been at sea only a few days when a tremendous storm arose, lasting so long and raging so fiercely that by the time its fury finally abated, the counselor had abandoned all hope of finding the dragon. The primitive navigation of those days left them lost and battered until they were finally blown ashore on an unfamiliar coast, and exhausted by his travels and consumed with anxiety, the counselor fell gravely ill with a severe cold and swollen face, forcing him to take to his bed. The local governor, hearing of his plight, sent messengers inviting him to recover at his residence. As the counselor lay there contemplating his misfortunes, his love for Princess Kagaya gradually transformed into resentment and anger, and he began to suspect that she had deliberately sent him on this impossible quest to rid herself of him, perhaps even hoping he would perish at sea. When his servants, those he had originally sent to find the jewel, finally located him, they were astonished to receive praise rather than punishment for their failure. Their master declared himself thoroughly sick of adventure and vowed never to approach the princess's house again. Only Middle Captain Iso no Kami actually attempted his assigned quest. For months, he stood beneath the eaves of houses, watching swallows build their nests, hoping to find the legendary cowrie shell. His dedication was genuine and his efforts tireless. But when he finally climbed high into a tree to examine a swallow's nest more closely, he fell and was gravely injured. When news of his accident reached Kagaya, she was deeply moved by his sincere efforts. She visited him as he recovered from his injuries, bringing healing herbs and words of comfort.
Brave Captain.
She spoke softly, offering gentle encouragement.
Your honest attempt honors you more than success achieved through deception would have, but you must understand, the shell you seek exists only in legend, as do all the treasures I requested.
You never intended for any of us to succeed, did you, princess?
She whispered, her eyes filling with gentle sadness.
I set impossible tasks because my heart cannot be won through earthly means. My nature is not of this world, and though I am deeply touched by sincere affection, I cannot give what was never mine to offer.
As the years passed and the failed suitors departed, Kagaya's beauty continued to grow beyond the bounds of earthly loveliness, and her radiance became so intense that even the Emperor of Japan heard tales of her extraordinary appearance and decided he must see her for himself. Unlike the 5 nobles who had come before, the Emperor approached with genuine humility and wisdom. When he first beheld Kagaya, he was struck not only by her physical beauty, but by the otherworldly quality that seemed to emanate from her very being.
Princess Kagaya, I have come not as an emperor seeking to add another treasure to his collection, but as a man who recognizes in you something far greater than earthly beauty. Will you accept my friendship, if not my love?
Kagaya was touched by his honest words and genuine respect.
Your Majesty honors me. I would gladly offer friendship to one who approaches with such wisdom and kindness.
And so the Emperor became a frequent visitor to the humble cottage, not as a demanding suitor, but as a cherished friend. He and Kagaya would spend hours in conversation, discussing philosophy, poetry, and the mysteries of existence. Their friendship brought joy to both, yet Kagaya's sadness seemed to deepen with each passing day. As the seasons turned and years flowed by like a gentle river, Kagaya's melancholy became more pronounced. Often, she would stand in the garden at night, gazing up at the full moon with tears streaming down her luminous cheeks like liquid silver.
What troubles you so deeply, my daughter?
Her adoptive mother asked one evening, her heart breaking to see such sorrow in one so dear. Kagaya turned from her contemplation of the moon, her eyes reflecting a pain too deep for earthly understanding.
Dearest mother, the time has come for me to reveal the truth I have long hidden. I am not of this world, but was sent here from the Moon Palace as punishment for a crime I committed in my celestial home.
Her adoptive parents stared in shock and growing fear as she continued.
The people of the moon live lives of perfect harmony and eternal peace, but they lack the passionate emotions that make earthly existence so beautiful and so painful. In my curiosity about human feelings, I broke the laws of my people. As punishment, I was exiled to Earth to experience the full range of mortal emotions, joy and sorrow, love and loss, hope and despair.
She gestured toward the silver orb hanging in the star-studded sky.
Now the lunar court has decided that my exile has taught me sufficient lessons. Soon they will send celestial beings to escort me home. When the moon is full again, I must leave this world and all whom I have come to love.
No. You are our daughter, our greatest joy. How can heaven be so cruel as to take you from us?
The old bamboo cutter fell to his knees, tears streaming down his weathered face. She whispered, her voice breaking with emotion.
I do not wish to go. This humble cottage has become more precious to me than any celestial palace. Your love has taught me what it means to be truly wealthy, but the laws of the moon cannot be broken, not even by the deepest love.
Word of Kagaya's impending departure reached the Emperor, who immediately dispatched his finest warriors to surround the cottage and protect her from the celestial messengers. He himself came to stand guard, determined to keep his dear friend on Earth through the force of human will and military might. As the full moon rose on the appointed night, casting the world in silver radiance, an otherworldly music began to fill the air, beautiful beyond description yet filling all who heard it with an inexplicable sadness. The Emperor's soldiers, brave men who had faced countless battles, found themselves unable to move or even draw their weapons. From the sky descended a procession of celestial beings, their forms so luminous that mortal eyes could barely perceive them, their robes flowing like liquid moonlight. At their head walked a figure of such majestic beauty that even Kagaya paled in comparison. From the sky descended a procession of celestial beings, their forms so luminous that mortal eyes could barely perceive them, their robes flowing like liquid moonlight. At their head walked a figure of such majestic beauty that even Kagaya paled in comparison. The celestial leader spoke with a voice like distant wind chimes.
Princess of the Moon, your time of exile is complete. You have learned what it means to love and to grieve, to hope and to despair. Now you must return to take your place among the immortals.
Kagaya stepped forward, her earthly clothing transforming into robes of silver and starlight, but even as her appearance became more ethereal, her tears continued to flow.
I have indeed learned much. I have learned that true wealth lies not in gold or jewels, but in the love of those who care for us selflessly. I have discovered that a humble cottage filled with affection is worth more than the grandest palace built on obligation.
She replied, her voice carrying the musical quality of her celestial nature while retaining the emotional warmth of her earthly experience. She turned to her adoptive parents, who stood frozen in grief and wonder.
Dearest father and mother, you who found me in the bamboo and raised me with such tender care, know that no distance can diminish the love I bear for you. In the Moon Palace, they say we feel no sorrow because we form no attachments, but I have learned that love's pain is inseparable from love's joy, and I would not trade the ache in my heart for all of celestial peace.
As the celestial beings prepared to depart, Kagaya spoke once more to the old bamboo cutter.
Dear father, I must leave one final gift for the emperor, who has shown me such true friendship.
She wrote a letter expressing her gratitude and sorrow at parting, and with it she placed a small vial filled with liquid that seemed to contain captured starlight, the elixir of immortality.
Please deliver these to His Majesty when I am gone.
As the celestial beings began to ascend toward the moon, Kagaya turned one last time to look upon the cottage that had been her home, the garden where she had learned to find joy in simple pleasures, and the faces of those who had taught her the meaning of human love. She called softly, her voice carrying on the night wind like a blessing.
I go now to a place of eternal peace. But I carry with me the gift of having truly lived, truly loved, and truly understood what it means to be mortal, that knowledge will light my way through all eternity.
With that, the celestial procession rose into the star-filled sky, carrying Princess Kagaya back to her moon palace. And those watching from below saw a brief brightening of the lunar surface, as if the moon itself were welcoming home its lost daughter. The old bamboo cutter, though consumed with grief, kept his promise and delivered Princess Kagaya's letter and the elixir of immortality to the emperor. When the emperor read her farewell message, his tears fell like rain, for he understood that their friendship, though brief, had been more precious than all the treasures of his kingdom. He held the vial of elixir in his hands and spoke to his advisors.
What good is eternal life if I must live it without the one person who made life truly meaningful? Without Princess Kagaya, immortality would be nothing but endless sorrow.
The emperor summoned his most trusted officers and gave them a command.
Take this letter and this elixir to the summit of the mountain closest to heaven, the great peak that rises highest above our land. There at the top where earth meets sky, burn them both, so that my message and my love might reach Princess Kagaya in her distant home.
The imperial emissaries undertook the arduous journey, climbing to the summit of the great mountain, and at sunrise in the place nearest to heaven they set fire to the letter and the elixir of immortality. And so it came to be that this mountain was named Fuji, the characters meaning immortal or undying, for it was there that the elixir meant to grant eternal life was consumed by flames. To this very day, people say that smoke can be seen rising from Mount Fuji's peak, carrying the emperor's undying love upward toward the moon, where Princess Kagaya dwells in her celestial palace. The old bamboo cutter and his wife lived out their days in the cottage, now filled with both grief and gratitude for having been blessed, however briefly, with such extraordinary love. And sometimes, on nights when the moon shines with particular brilliance, people say they can see the silhouette of a beautiful princess gazing down at the earth with loving sadness, remembering the humble cottage where she learned that even celestial beings can find their hearts transformed by human kindness. The bamboo grove where TellStory no Okina once worked continues to grow, and occasionally travelers report seeing a gentle glow among the stalks, not the light of trapped moonbeams, but the warm radiance of love that transcends the boundaries between earth and sky. Mortality and eternity.